Welcome back, y'all. I'm music journalist Thomas Mooney, and this is episode 224 of New Slang, where I'm joined by Muscadine Bloodline. So this is another episode that was recorded during CottonFest. Muscadine headlined Saturday night, and yeah, another situation where I was able to talk with Gary and Charlie for about an hour that Saturday afternoon. So Muscadine Bloodline has quickly become one of my favorite outfits out there, one of my favorite bands going. I had heard of them since, I guess, around 2018 when they put that Moving On EP out. But really, the last couple of years, I've just kind of been obsessed with a couple of their records and just think they're one of the best, strongest duos, pair of songwriters that we have out there right now. Of course, I'm really talking about the Coastal Plain and What Was Left Behind. I think those two records right there that they just released these past 2 years are about as good a pair of records that have come out these last 5-10 years. Which also, side note, I should have known this because it's pretty obvious once you realize it, but El Rey is the one who did the artwork for those two records. And yeah, if you're familiar with El Rey, it's that classic old American traditional style tattoo. And it really suits these two records well. And if you're unfamiliar with El Rey, go give him a follow on Instagram as well. Really great artist with some West Texas panhandle ties. I mentioned this during the interview and we talk about it at length, but I really do love this world that they have fully dove into and embraced. You know, it's so easy to think that the place that you're from is too small or too left field, or if you're trying to write too specific about something that you're never going to hit the masses, if you will. But in reality, that magnified examination of a spot, of a place, of a time, it really delivers these memorable stories and these feelings, and that's important for like the long run of a band, of an artist. I jokingly kind of say that they write two kind of songs. One is this super nostalgic look at that time in your life, really from like that summer going into your senior year of high school all the way through your college years. It's this focus on relationships, and both in the romantic sense, but also those close friends that you have along that time. It's heartbreaking and it's breaking hearts. It's hindsight being 2020. I've often compared it to one of my favorite shows of all time, Friday Night Lights. I think that there's a lot of parallels between Friday Night Lights, which obviously revolves around high school football in Texas, and these songs. So yeah, that's one kind of song. And then the other is like, hey, y'all want to hear about some illegal shit that went down in the county over? Those type of songs. I really think that is like the perfect dichotomy for this band. And while they've never said that any of these characters within these songs are related, or so-and-so from this song is the same person from this other song, it's a fair assumption that they'd pass one another in the grocery store aisle, or they'd pump gas next to each other at the same convenience store. I don't think you have to over-explain or over-examine songs, theirs or anyone else's for that matter. But if we think about these songs as puzzle pieces, it's nice that we can get an overall good look at the picture that they've created. Even if there's gaps and pieces missing, that's all right. That's certainly a good thing. I'd venture to say that if you are listening to this episode, you're probably already familiar with the Coastal Plain and What Was Left Behind. But if you aren't, go put those records on your to-do list. Out here, style tells a story. When you throw on something from OG Lone Star, you're not just wearing a t-shirt or a cap. You're wearing a Texas anthem. It's tried and true. That's why New Slang has proudly partnered with OG Lone Star, Austin-born, Texas-bred, and officially licensed by Lone Star Beer. If you go over to oglonestar.com or head on over to their Instagram at OG_lone_star, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Fresh vintage-inspired t-shirts, retro trucker caps, the ever-stylish satin jacket. One of my personal favorites are these ultra-soft, high-quality throw blankets. They're about 6 feet in length and are just perfect for those nights by the fire, tailgates, or outside concerts. Whether you're walking into a place like the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, the Continental Club over in Austin, or Cheatham Street Warehouse down in San Marcos, You'll stick out in the best of ways in new Lone Star gear from OG Lone Star. Whether you're a wallflower like myself, a two-stepper out on the dance floor, or holding court by the bar top, you'll feel right at home in vintage-inspired gear by OG Lone Star. Hell, I'll even go out on a limb and say wearing some OG Lone Star, it may get you a cold, crisp Lone Star by some good-looking stranger across the bar, if you're catching my drift. All those links, they will be in the show notes. Again, that's oglonestar.com. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's episode with Charlie and Gary from Muscadine Bloodline.
Man, I was going to bring it up later, but you guys have already been firing off, just some of your classic idioms. Yeah. I'm a big idiom guy. I love hearing idioms and songs.
Yeah.
That's why I like Turnpike. It's one of my favorite bands. Yeah. So one time talking with Evan, he talked about how his family, one of these like little family games they would do is like, who could create a new idiom? Who could like do stuff like that?
Yeah.
For y'all, like, what is, not necessarily that you guys are just always looking out to make up a new idiom or something, but what do you guys like as far as finding those old sayings that, kind of make somebody
I think, like,
re-listen?
I don't know. Idioms definitely, like, a lot of times have can be destination specific, and so it's kind of cool to just, like, I think it brings a sense of like authenticity of like where you're from and kind of like knowing what you're talking about, and in a way makes a lot of times I feel like in songwriting sometimes we try to be like too poetic, but sometimes like it's sitting there right in front of us as just like, hey, this makes this very conversational, and then just I think it lends to like a palette of listening to where it's like, man, this is just like, oh, that sounds like, sometimes they don't even know what it means, but it's like sometimes it's kind of cool to just, if we know what it means and it's authentic to us. So
we've gotten better and better at that too. Like we'll be writing and, we care less now about like if something makes sense per se. Like it's like, it does make sense. Like you get it, but like if you write it out on paper, like in an English class, it would be like a failure technically. But it's
right.
But if we always kind of look at it and be like, I don't care. Like I understand what it says and it sounds cool. You know what I mean?
We were playing dominoes on the bus last night, and we were like making up like wrong idioms. like Charlie said something. What you said? He said waiting on his chickens to hatch. He said waiting on my chickens to roost, and we were like, I don't know if that's right. And I was like, well, hey man, you can give the horse water, but he ain't gonna take a bath or something. Just like just wrecking them just for like no reason.
Yeah. Those are like Ringo-isms, like 8 days a week and
100%.
Hard Day's Night and all that kind of shit. Or like, who was it? Yogi Berra always said shit that was just like these like great quotes that are just like, 98%
almost
there,
great
but
quotes.
yeah.
No
then you
doubt.
just ruin the landing on it all.
Yeah.
So one of the things I really appreciate about y'all songwriting is that despite not being from West Texas, it feels very much still at home for me.
Yeah.
Like, and I can just assume that that's kind of the same way for a lot of people where even though you guys are writing very specific about a very specific region, a sense of home is still kind of there for y'all.
No doubt.
But in saying that, were you guys ever like hesitant to like ever hone in on such a specific kind of feel of like a certain place that you guys are from because of the fear of like, oh, people aren't going to quote unquote get it because it's not my version of
I would
home?
say, I mean, for us specifically, like we've been doing this for 10 years now, and we moved to Nashville, and I'll be honest, like when we first started, we really didn't know what this was. We knew we wanted to play music, and we knew we could sing well together and harmonize, but like on like what we were saying, I think a lot of times you kind of get in that catchphrase, drink the Kool-Aid of like, man, like we got to appeal to the masses. But a lot of times I think when you do that, you land on a very vanilla platform of like what this song is saying. And so that's when you get this catchphrase generic. And honestly, when we just started, kind kind of realizing who we were. And honestly, I feel like it took us 6 or 7 years to really figure out what Muscadine was. And so that's been its own battle in itself, to just kind of like, not even rebranding, but just kind of really like discovering who you are. And sometimes, I'm envious of the artists who come out the gate, like Evan Felker, and like that first record. It's like, man, these guys know who they are from the jump.
Like they had it honed in.
And we didn't have that luxury. And so I think, honestly, you're talking about, being from West Texas and here. I mean, Charlie and I have always been like the red dirt, music scene, even though it wasn't prominent where we were, because like it's hard to discover it when you're not from here. And we were talking about this on a podcast the other day, but it's like, we were on like Randy Rogers, Pandora Shuffle, and this is how we were discovering Stony LaRue and Cross Canadian Ragweed and Turnpike. And I think like when we first sat down to start, writing songs, that's, it feels like a home, because like a lot of those writers like inspired us, and it wasn't just like, 3 published writers, trying to get a hit on the radio, coming into a room to write something that appeals to the masses. Like there's a narrative, a clear narrative when you hear Evan, on the new record, The Price of Admission. It's like, how he can convey stories is, it's so cool. I'm such a fan of Evan in the fact, like, take like the Bird Hunter, song. It's a song about the activity of going bird hunting with a friend, but it's not a song about bird hunting. It has this whole other thing, and how he illustrates that. It's so like incredible. And so honestly, like we've been ripping Turnpike for a while, just kind of like, whoa, what's our geo-specific thing that we know about, that what's honest, and how can we write something that's oddly specific, but at the same time the masses can be like, hey, I don't know exactly where he's talking about, but that place that he's describing, I have one of those too. And that's what makes it that bringing it home kind of feel. And
too, like, I feel like to answer your question of like, were we like nervous to like go down these rabbit holes? Like, I don't think so, because I think we had gotten to this point in our career where we almost were like, okay, we've made some records to try to like, we've made records for other people, and it's like, no, now we're only making records for us. Like, that's the whole goal, right? It's like, it sounds selfish to your fans possibly, but it's like, we have to love it first, and if we love it, then it should convey authentically to them, And so,
and I think there's also like an element of, I want to put out music and write music that no one else can write about. And so it's like, we have our platform where we're from, and so it's like when we sit down to write a song, I don't see it anymore as like, oh man, this would be a great song. Because when we were writing at a publishing company in Nashville, it'd be like, okay, John Party's cutting this week, or Dierks Bentley. And so now you're trying to like,
fit in,
trying to like form, like writing to a formula instead of like, no, I just want to write Muscadine Bloodline songs. And so we kind of just totally got away from that about 4 years ago. And I think the goal was just like, man, I just want to paint a narrative that only we could paint, because we're the ones that are from South Alabama, and it's Charlie and I doing the songwriting now instead of, lining up co-writes all week. It's just like, we just write when we feel inspired and there's something we want to chase and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those things where clearly you guys wanted to do this as a job, and you go to Nashville. For me, like being a writer, when journalism became like a job, it kind of scraped away some of that lore, that mystery away, where then it became more of a 9 to 5 thing, and you kind of lost that magic in there, and that's very, very easy to do, because like you say, and I think like it's not even necessarily like, a quote unquote wrong way to do it or anything like that, but because I think still like Nashville, pound for pound, has like the best songwriter. Like everyone who's a great songwriter ends up going to Nashville at some point, right?
There's no slight to like all these songwriters,
but like that fits for certain people, and if you're not necessarily made for that kind of songwriting or that kind of creative process, really, it can feel kind of like you're kind of being strangled or something.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, there's a difference in like needing to write and wanting to write.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, that's the beautiful mix of creativity in general, like even for like painters or journalists or songwriter. It's like
staring at a blank
it's gonna be
canvas
better.
Right.
It's gonna be better if you're like genuinely inspired instead of just being like, I have to write today. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like our last 3 records really is when we first kind of honed it in, but it's like we've taken like almost like a literary and cinematic approach to like, okay, here's the concept of this record, and instead of like just writing just for the sake of writing something, it's like, okay, now we have these barriers that are parameters we have created for this whole record. So now it's like, okay, this is our starting point, and now I'm writing the next song with the song I just wrote in mind. So therefore, by the time you get done with this, say, 12, 14 song record, like maybe not sonically as cohesively all the time, but it's like, but the ideas are cohesive. And then it's kind of like taking this approach. Now it's been fun because we have like these ideas of like 4 or 5 records that we have that we've been kind of simultaneously working on in a weird way, but it's now when we're going to write, it's like, oh man, this idea fits for this concept or whatever it is. And so it's kind of odd because now I feel like we're working on 3 records at the same time, but it's just like you're flexing a different muscle or a different thing for whatever these records require.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I've talked with people about somehow it sounds opposite of the way it would be, but sometimes when you put those parameters up, it actually opens things up, you know, in a bigger way.
100%. I mean, I look at that too as like, I mean, you take all the rock bands in the 70s, like they all, like a lot of times if you just listen to, you know, top 40 country, sonically it all sounds the same because it's just the same studio bands. Like, we're playing it safe. This has got to fit a palette for a person who's driving home from work at 5 o'clock. But back then it was like, man, this is what we got. And so it's like, how can we like exasperate what we have here? And then that's how you get these like really cool and totally different records.
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely. Speaking of like y'all's last couple records, how I guess like they're connected, right? They're like, how have you guys been kind of characterizing them as like essentially like a double record, like a cousin's record? Like they're like cousins.
We don't really like to say like a double. A cousin's a great way to say it, honestly, but it's like it's a continuation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times, you know, when you say, hey, we're doing a double record, it's like, well, the A side, the first one is all the good stuff, and this is just the leftovers. But quite honestly, when we got in this world of the coastal plains, and that's like the geological area of where we're from, in Alabama. And so we were just like, man, we just started writing like, golly, like we're not Morgan Wallen or Zach Bryan. People ain't going to listen to a 25-song record from us. And so it's like, how could we piece this but stretch the album cycle of like the same idea, but it's like 2 different parts. And so now you have strategically placed like these songs for this part and these songs for this part to where the listening experience, it flows through the whole thing.
Yeah. How many like what was kind of like the large batch of songs that ended up kind of that you, not necessarily that you we're hitting a certain number of songs for this project, but how many were like kind of in the running for these?
Honestly, I just think it was the ones that were there.
Yeah, it was like 24.
It was the ones that landed on there. Honestly, like we don't really write anymore. Like I feel like every song we've written here in the last 3 years,
it's not like file stuffing anymore.
Right. It's like this is like. And we don't, oddly enough, I think we got better by writing less because we were kind of having more lived experiences. And it's not, instead of like being like, man, we're just getting up, it's Tuesday, we got nothing to do, hey, pop over to the house, let's write. It's like, no, we're already stewing up on something. And so it's like, now we just need to flesh this out kind of thing. But there hasn't been much of like writing a song. I mean, we'll go back, if we really like a concept or an idea of a song, we'll rehash it till we like it or whatever. Like you may like tweak a verse or tweak like how the song flows. But I feel like in the last 3 years, like everything we've written, like we put out. And so, and I think it's been like try to make quality over quantity kind of deal.
I think like one of my favorite little aspects of what y'all are doing is like there's still some of that southern gothicness in there. There's this like mysticism, this mystery where my comparison is like, are you guys familiar with Terry Allen?
We just kind of
so funny you brought that up because So this is funny. We've been talking about Terry Allen and listening to him religiously for like the past week. Yeah, that's an awesome shirt. And so, and especially us coming to Lubbock, like Lubbock on everything. But it's funny because John Bauman, or I can never say his name right. Is that right? How you say it? Okay. Sorry, John. But we've done this twice in interviews. I can never know how to say it. But he dropped Terry Allen in one of his songs called Proving Ground. And on the record Proving Ground, and Here I Come. And I was like, I don't know who the Flatlanders or, Jimmy Dill or who all these people are. And then he said a couple Terry Allen tapes, I play to every day. And I watched this video of Ryan Bingham did this like little project called I think about the Midnight Hour. And he would like go meet up with like Jack Johnson. He ended up meeting up with Terry Allen. And like the first song I'm hearing is like him playing Dogwood. And I was just like, this is so... I can't even, you can listen to it and be like, I don't really even know what this is. But at the same time, I'm like, this is so, there's no parameters to, what he's doing. And so I would say, I wish I could say, he's been an inspiration. But now that I've found it, it's, the biggest inspiration I have right now, which is cool to be in Lubbock, too.
Yeah. He's got this song called Truckload of Art where...
I know it, and then the intro of it, he explains it. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's one of those songs where it sounds like a real story, but then also if you said it was a real story, people would look at you like, "What are you fucking?" Or if you, I feel like if you ask Terry, I've been able to interview Terry a bunch of times, but I've never actually had the nerve to ask him is this based on a true story? Because I feel like he'd just say, "No, you idiot, no, it's not." But because it's so fantastic,
you don't want it to be. You want it to be real, right?
And so what I'm saying is, in parallel, some of your stories, as far definitely more of the,
embellished.
It feels like there's this sense of based on a true story, but we're gonna fill in the details to make it
tiny bit,
exactly. I think it's like creating characters that were real people, but it's also a little bit of
you also weren't there.
Yeah.
So
but also too, it's they could be a grandfather or we were Devil Died in Dixie is about my grandfather. Obviously, he didn't kill the devil in Monroe County, but it's making people larger than life. I mean, you always look at your grandfather as when you're in the eyes of a 6-year-old, you're like, man, he's the coolest. And so it's how can I make him be the coolest? Or Earl Byrd is my great uncle. And it's he didn't go to prison. He didn't do whatever. He was a wild card, but at the same time, it's well, no, this is my story and I'm just going to write this and make this narrative or whatever. And it makes it fun. I was always curious with that Truckload of Art song. It's and it's kind of, I think, if you wanted to dissect anything about it, it's okay, he's also a visual artist, so he loves art. So it's you can tell it's about this truck, crashing and all this rare arts all over the ground and stuff, and it's things that indirectly make him geo-specific to being on the highway somewhere out here in West Texas, but also he loves art. So it's how can I create this narrative of things that just really I enjoy.
Yeah. I think the funniest part about that song is just okay, truck crash, and then the they don't know what to do with everything, so they just burn it and bury it in the ground. It's that's your classic kind of well, I don't get art, so
right.
kind of guys, totally. And it's we're just gonna dig a hole in the ground and just throw it all in there. And, he says something about, I guess in that song even, he says, and nobody knows what it means or whatever about it burning, because it's in itself it's an art installation in itself,
no doubt.
But yeah, Terry's such a such an interesting artist overall. He's because now he's I think he's 82 or so.
He's getting up there,
and I guess for me, it's been interesting to see him in a, I guess for most of my life, I've understood him as this guy who's created all these great albums, this great art, this old man. and then like talking with him and realizing, oh, at some point he was like fucking 19 and didn't know what he was doing either.
Yeah.
But he was just doing it, and that's, you know, truly inspiring in its own way. You know, of like, man, he didn't come out fully formed. You know, he had to work to get to a point too.
No doubt.
So, one of the things I was gonna bring up about Earl Bird from, you guys pronounce it Misha?
Meksha. Yeah.
See, in Texas, there's a Mejia.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask like if you guys had gotten any shit for
like a couple people like because it is such a weird word, so it's like a lot of people say like Mexia or that the one. So no, we really haven't. I guess because like, you know, to where we're talking about, it's like that's what it's called. So and it's not even it's a tiny little town like in Monroe County. So it's like probably maybe no one even like cared enough to even look. You know, I don't know. So they just took our word for it. This is how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I just love like how it's those little things like that make it like where it's like, oh, that's a little different. Like but you know, in a song like that, like I can very much feel like that'd be something. Especially in Texas, where there was a lot of dry counties in Texas for the longest time. Like Lubbock County used to be dry up until 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you'd have to like drive out to the strip, or you'd have to go to the bar, the only place to buy beer and liquor. And it's just, you know, once they passed the ordinance to where you can sell beer and liquor, you know, 100 liquor stores opened up within 24 hours or so, but it's like, and it feels like it just never wasn't, but it's so wild to think like Texas Tech University is here and Dry County, you know, just
it's like big party school.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, and that tells you a lot right there about trying to make shit illegal. It's like the more you try and make it illegal, the more people are like wanting it. So, you know, you mentioned earlier trying to like work within this like cinematic universe. So I've kind of like jokingly kind of characterized y'all songs as like in one or two camps. One is that Southern Gothic, like here's a story about, you know, illegal shit.
Yeah.
And then the other version is like, I kind of put all these like high school, post high school breakup, like
a lot of that
realism, where in like this like Friday Night Lights universe. I feel like that's very much what where it fits. And so for y'all, like why is it like going back to that kind of touch point in y'all's life, or like that kind of feeling?
I feel it's probably just like that's such a emotional, like probably one of the first times in your life you're like in touch with your emotions, I guess. Like, and
it's so reckless, and like, you know, you're not looking past Friday night at that in that like mentality. Like it's so juvenile, and two, I think a lot of times going back to it is like doing this for a living for like the last 10 years. It's like, you know, when you go back to like a sense of nostalgia or, you know, life experiences that you've lived, it's like a lot of that, like right post high school, like there's like, I pull a lot from that because, you know, a lot of times just like being in a van and playing the next gig and going to write some more songs just to play the next gig. It's just like, that was like the last time I've pretty much lived, you know. I feel like the most human experience of like, it's nothing's about, you know, making something out of this, or it's like, you know, I don't know what my future holds, but like that moment for some reason is just like, because I feel like that's when I first kind of discovered songwriting and like just my love for music for both of us was, you know, those latter days in high school. I mean, I feel like that was about the time Charlie and I started toying with the ideas, probably, that it's like, man, I'd love to do this for a living, instead of just like something that collecting dust in the corner and I pick it up every now and then, you know. So I don't know. I just like those moments.
We have
for
a knack
me,
for like love songs, you know, like we are in love. So it's like, I think it's easy to like tap back into that and remind yourself of first loves or previous loves. I mean, it's like, it's something everyone understands, you know? Yeah.
I think like a lot of times people can dismiss that era as like, oh, you're just being immature because you're talking about singing about, you know, when you're puppy love kind of stuff or young love. And in my opinion, like it's kind of like, as you guys mentioned, the nostalgic factor of that era. A lot of people, they do go back to that era all the time. Like that's why,
it's
you'll hear
time you felt all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's why you'll hear like 40 or 5-year-olds be like, I only listen to stuff from like,
right.
when I was 18, 22.
Late,
and it's like, well,
it's like
you didn't move that
80s
past.
rock.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. And, I think that's like, it's like obviously, I mentioned Friday Night Lights, big Friday Night Lights fan.
Yeah, for sure.
People love watching shit like that about that era of your life anyways. The one funny thing I think though is that sometimes your characters in those moments are I was not nearly self-aware enough to be like some of your characters where they're just like, well, we're gonna have to just like cut this off right here because I know you're gonna go to college and you're gonna fall in love. And it's like, man, I do not know if I was that.
That's probably how you knew like a 30-year-old wrote it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean,
they understood it more.
Like I think you're referring to the Chickasaw Church of Christ, probably, but it's like it's one of those ones where after it was written, I was like, man, I don't even know what this is. Is this a breakup song? Is this a love song? Is this just like, I don't even know. But I know whatever this feeling that it conveyed to me, and when we put it out and that sort of thing, and the response to it's been like, man, it's just true. Like that what it feels like. And
because I even told him that, like when we sang it, after we sang it in the studio, Gary wrote that song by himself, and like I was like, as I'm singing it and like reading it and like learning it and analyzing it and understanding it, like I was like, this is like an insanely like mature way to look at this.
Yeah.
Like not many 18-year-olds would actually see it like that, Yeah. And I was like, this is cool. Like it's a very emotionally advanced song if you really think about it.
And maybe that's the surprising element to it. That's maybe what sets that scene differently than how anyone else would set it, because usually it'd be like this knockdown,
like
drag out,
scene.
Like
exactly. Like
it's like, hey, let's just have one more last time, and hey, it ain't like we're dying, so it's like let's just go do our thing.
In real life, they'd be begging and crying.
Like, probably. So
it's interesting.
Yeah, they'd be out, her front lawn,
Oh it'd be obnoxious.
Yeah.
Made for the dance hall, the dive bar, the fire pit, and the front porch, OG Lone Star is your go-to spot to grab vintage-inspired attire and gear. Nothing pairs with a cold, crisp Lone Star beer quite like a comfortable Lone Star t-shirt, a sharp trucker cap, a smooth satin jacket, a bold belt buckle, and a host of other goods by OG Lone Star. Officially licensed gear, OG Lone Star is the real deal. Visit oglonestar.com. Now let's get back to the episode.
So like on Way Too High, I think the first time I heard it and I went, oh, yeah, you guys made it like too real was about the burnt CDs with like Lil Wayne on it and shit. Is other people mentioned like that being like a kind of a moment of like that made it real, or like is there any other examples of that in other songs?
Yeah,
for someone?
I'm always kind of like, it's really I think a popular trend is to like drop something we've listened to, but it's so, one, it's real because like Mobile is like this, it's a melting pot of just culture. It's like you'll see a lifted truck with glass patch, pipes on it, and then it's got 212 kicker comps, bumping Lil Boozy or something like that, and that's just like Mobile as kind of like a subculture. And so it's like, I mean, granted, like if you grew up from 2000, if you were in your formative years from middle school and high school when like Lil Wayne was like on top of the world, No Ceilings mixtape,
like, of course you're listening.
And so it's like it just really put it in like, no, seriously, when I was 17, like what would have been there, because it really was burnt CDs, because like that was the first time I remember you had those little cassettes you could throw in and like put your little aux cord cassette to the iPod Nano or something like that. And so it's like, but yeah, you just kind of had what you listened to, and everybody was burning stuff off LimeWire.
You had the little CD holder like on the visor that held like 20 discs, or the notebook of like, dude.
I honestly
just LimeWire ripped.
It's
CDs.
funny, like that song to me, like I didn't know. Surprising to us because that was like the favorite off of the And What Was Left Behind part but that was not what we were expecting. But I think just like how we conveyed it sonically too, it just never goes anywhere, and it's kind of like this like kind of parallel to be like I wanted to like write a song about like a song that potentially could prompt me to call a friend from high school, and that's like the feeling like it had to it, and it's just like I don't know, it was just like a little, I mean, everything about it was real. The characters, the people, Trey's house, like me and B Rich going to Hurley, Mississippi because you could buy tobacco at 18 in Mississippi, but you could at 19 in Alabama. So it's like those little nuances are just so like real. And so like people from where we're from were like, oh my gosh, like they're just like talking about our Friday night. And I really didn't expect like people across the nation to be like this song.
I live this too,
yeah.
You know?
And so it's like that shame on me for not thinking like everyone had that same lived experience.
That's the cool thing, man, about songs. It's just.
But it just wanted it to be oddly specific, you know, just because I thought that was cool, you know.
Yeah, I think like that's everyone, and if they don't admit it, they're lying to themselves about like everyone. I think pretty much likes to think about, especially if they're played sports, about that one shining moment,
Dude,
that
it's
one,
the glory days, man.
you know,
right?
It's like the last time like you're, and if you're listening, you are like 18, 19 years old, it's like the last time your knees don't hurt, like, you know, that's like
seriously
the last time your ankles aren't like killing you, anything like that. If you twist an ankle at 35, you're gonna be,
it's tough.
It's gonna, I twisted an ankle a couple years ago, and it was like, oh, this ain't getting fucking better at all. Like, and,
dude, I went skiing like 3 years ago, and my ankle still doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
because of that.
Mine went to like I had that like, you know, I always gave, you know, a little shit to my grandma for being like, oh, it's about to start raining because my knee hurts or whatever, and like now that ankle is just like, yeah, storm coming through.
You don't think that you'll get there, but you finally do, and you're like, oh. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting to that age too in our young 30s where we're like, okay, I'm starting to, like we played a pickup game of basketball last week and it was just like, and we were like, dude. Yeah. Like, but we just hopped out there and like no stretching, no nothing. We're just like, all right, let's run it. And then it's like, we can't do this
18,
anymore.
You know?
Yeah, we can't do it anymore.
Got this.
So coming to that realization's been a little tough.
That's where like I always, like I'm a big basketball fan in general, but where I go, you have to give it to guys like LeBron who are like 40 years old and like.
Can you imagine?
No,
still
I mean,
doing it at the level he's doing it. It's crazy.
I would just be like, you'd have to.
So you know how long it probably takes him to like gear up? To like get ready? I mean, probably hours.
And playing, I mean, to shoot his son's on the same team. It's just like he's playing with people that are half his age and dominating still.
Like Dirk Nowitzki, like my entire, it's one of those like, thank God, like he was like on the Mavs from when I was basically like 9 years old, 10 years old to, 30 something years old. And, you know, when he retired, he talked about, it's not because of like, I don't like playing in the games, but at some point, like that tipping of having like the preparation of the games takes where you're doing it longer than you're actually even thinking about even playing in the game. And it's like all this stretching, all this like, just working on your.
It's true, man.
Yeah.
Probably spending like a millions on treatment a year too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. All the treatment and stuff.
Yeah.
So what I was going to ask about, we kind of touched on it a minute ago about the songwriting, but like, how is, you know, you guys have talked about how, you know, maybe more intentional with writing where there's not like a lot of excess of songs, so that just kind of go to waste or anything like that. How has like y'all's relationship with songwriting gone as far as like being collaborators and over the years? How have you guys weaved from going, solo writes that end up being songs for the records, or collab duo writes, co-writes? I don't know why I couldn't think of co-writes.
To be honest, man, like I mean, Gary like leads the vision of the songwriting in what we do, and I literally hold on for dear life and try to help as much as I can. Like I literally, like, that sounds silly, but like that's true. Like Gary is so creative, and like I think he was literally put on this earth to write songs, and I think I was put on this earth to sing songs.
And he's good at it too.
And like I write songs by proxy, but like writing songs doesn't get me out of bed every day. You know what I mean? But like because I am in a duo, and like obviously I do enjoy writing songs, but I like obviously will help as much as I can, and like. You know, I feel like I've gotten better over the years. Like, I don't think I'm a bad songwriter.
No, he's not. He's
but.
being modest. Like, he's good at it too. But no, I don't know. I just like really got stricken. And maybe it's like I'm kind of like one of the like I'm a disruptor. Like sometimes when things are going good, I'm like, man, this like we got to change something, and like for the worse. And like I'm arguably like I'm the head case of the group of both of us. Charlie has to like mellow me out because I'll take it too far or whatever, or like just like be a good thing, and it's like, all right, we're gonna disrupt this thing like for no apparent reason. But like I just like I don't know, I just want to do things different. It doesn't, and like, but at the same time, it's like, how can you like expect to do things different and expect the masses to be like, well, we want to grow with this? And so it's like it's like quelling expectations to where it's like, man, I really just want to tell these stories and write songs, and why like God still has given us this gift to do this. It's like I just want to chase it as long as I can and just make like really cool records, because I want to like when we inevitably stop doing this, whenever, I hope we do it for are able to do it another 20 years plus, whatever. We can do it till we die for all I care. But it's one of those things where it's like, I want people to like go back and look at the discography and be like, oh, that record was cool just because it was cool. Like, and not just being like, you could tell they weren't like trying to like chase something or chase a hit or whatever. I don't know. Like when I hear that something like, and those are great. Hits are great, right? Like they get people to your shows, and obviously like you put out a record, and a few of the songs are going to be the biggest listening ones. But it's like, I just want people to appreciate the thought and effort that we put into like making these records and that sort of thing.
Which a lot of time it feels like that does go unnoticed a tiny bit. You know what I mean? Like people are so focused on like the big song, it's like they don't think about it like you think about it, or like us artists think about like the concepts and the what I mean, which is unfortunate, but
I just like there's a sense of like being okay with being reckless. It's like your Terry Allen, dude. It's like reckless songwriter, but it's his thing, and so it's like I just want to have like our thing, and I think we've kind of like cultivated what that is. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, like the Coastal Plains of What Was Left Behind was great, and I love that record for what it was and what it's done for us. But at the same time, it's like the next time around, I just don't want to do that 2.0 again. Like it's got to be different. It's like for the sake, even if like all roads are leading to like, man, this is what's really working for you guys. I'm kind of like, man, but like I kind of want to go chase this thing over here right now.
Why would you read the same book twice, right? I mean,
and so it's just like. Just stretching the brain and just create narratives and bring people to places, I think is just the funnest, the most fun part of this. And it's like, so therefore I'm not having like reinvent the wheel of an idea. It's like, oh no, I have this like this parameter I've built for like what I want to write right now, and this is what it is. Sonically it might be different, like the stories might be different or whatever, but I don't know. It's just like that's the best answer I can give on that. I guess. I mean, I might have just rambled around and didn't answer anything right there, but no, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's. I get what you're saying, because I mean, it's for starters. At some point, like you kind of realize, oh, people don't love music the same way I love music, and I think like sometimes, that's very, very understandable, especially as you're getting older and you go, man, it's because, buddy over here got wife and kids and like a 60-hour a week that he's working, and he's got shit that he's thinking about that's not like where he don't have the time to be like, man, what was this record fully like the full concept? Or let me go and like do a deep dive on everything.
I think it's the constant battle of like plain stated yet like challenging the listener a little bit, and it's like, how can you like ride that fence? In a manner that's not so like, man, like this is like super wild. Like, I don't have time for this because, like you said, I got wife kid. Like, I don't want to sit. I just want to sit and enjoy a melody and make it, something. And I think, like, we've kind of done a good job. Like, sometimes, like, we'll just, whatever the song is sonically, we'll just lend what the song needs. Like, Chickasaw Church of Christ, it just needed a couple acoustic guitars. Like, Ballad of the Blanton Brothers needs this whole, like, cinematic feel of going up and down as Charlie's, narrating this story, essentially. So it's like, I just think it's fun just, like, living both of those worlds. And like, trying to marry those is a tough challenge, but I think it's, like, that's what, like, gets me going kind of thing.
That Blanton Brothers song, that one feels like one where I had to listen to it a few times just to make sure I was getting all the story.
100%.
Yeah, and like, I just loved how, everyone knows that one. You got that one buddy who's got that one shithead brother who just can't get out of his own way. And I kind of feel like that had to have been like a pretty fun ride to.
Yeah, no, it was
without a doubt.
It was a blast. Honestly, like, a lot of times I'll go to my dad for, like, inspiration. I was like, Dad, like, I just want to write this song about some brothers that are just like, maybe I'd watch Lawless or something like that, and it's like, I want to write a story based in Monroe County that's about this just like group of brothers that they're like always up to no good. And my dad was like, oh, that was the Blantons, and I'm like, okay, great, here we go, we got our subject. And it's like, okay, how do we write this story, and how can we like make the middle brother, who is the piece of shit, and by the end of it, everyone's dead except him. And so it's,
how do we throw all these loops?
Right, and it's just like, after I showed my dad the song after we wrote it, he was like, why'd y'all let that one survive? And I was like, well, that's just the fun part of songwriting. It's just like,
why wouldn't that one?
Yeah, it's just like, it kind of like, he's like, it kind of pissed me off that it's like, the one brother who's just like up to no good is the last
like,
one
why can't
living.
the hero survive?
Yeah, right. And so it's like, but that's the fun part.
Yeah, there's like, it's 99% of the time, the good guy doesn't win in a lot of these situations.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like one of my favorite, No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Whenever like, it's like, oh, well, the hero doesn't win, and then like people got all pissed off about whenever Anton is driving and gets into that car wreck. Like, why did that happen? It's like, because like the theme of that book is, or in that movie is like, there's no clean getaways.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it don't matter who you are. Like, there's no clean way to like get away, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think like that's important. So with Turnpike, and you're talking about the whole like where you're wanting to do for yourselves these records, but also like where, okay, here's a statement, but like we don't want to just Xerox copy that. I feel like Turnpike has probably done like the best job of doing that whole where these songs feel like they're in that same shared universe, but you can digest them at like multiple levels of, you can go as deep down that rabbit hole as you want, but like also if you're just wanting to
just a good time,
drink a
beer,
and like listen.
Totally, yeah.
It perfect. I mean, even taking like Blanton Brothers for example. Like, okay, it's just really, you have to pay attention if you want to get every single detail. And Evan does that well when he puts pen to paper. But it's like, but also at the end of the day, here's a great chorus that everyone can sing. So it's like you have this crazy like concept, but then you get to the chorus, it's just, I ain't know the bosom hellbound heathens, courage come, and it's just like this easy thing to sing. Yeah. And so it's like it marries that well, because it's like the guy who just wants to sing along, well, he can tap to his, he can come to a concert and sing that, and he can also tap on his steering wheel.
He just likes cool guitars,
right?
Or whatever,
and so it's like. But maybe there is that guy out there who's really listening to every single. I mean, there's probably a bunch of people that don't even know what that song's about. They're just like, it sounds cool, know. So it's like whatever.
So when it comes to like the actual writing, are you like a pen pad kind of guy? Are you like a?
It depends. I mean,
I feel like we're mostly like iPhone notes and
stuff
like
yeah,
that.
it's just right there. Like I mean, I've done both, but just for the ease of like not carrying things sometimes.
It's kind of convenient, you can just pull up your laptop or your phone and be like, oh, here's where we left off.
And I'm very unorganized, and it's like, I think these phones are attached to us now.
Yeah.
And so like a guy who's unorganized or whatever, like my life's a wreck. Just like, can't keep up with anything. And so it's like, I would hate to have like everything, these ideas in a
Imagine
pen and
having
pad,
like $1 million idea
and then you
lose it.
just lose it, and it's just like, and I'll go on these kicks, like I'll just be in like Walmart and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go buy some composite notebooks and like start writing this, and then I just kind of like lose it or something.
Page one and
yeah. And I have like 15
had.
of those at the house where it's like
Dog eats
you
it.
start, there's 3 pages of it, and then there's nothing left, and it's like, what was this? So
Yeah. The so I know a songwriter who he's kind of got like his life where disorganized throughout a lot of it, but he always kept like these big freaking like massive I don't even know if they were, it's not like this style, it was like way bigger than these, but like that's what he wrote in, and like somehow like he's been able to just keep all of his songs in those
That
books.
is cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like one of those deals where because everything else is that hurricane, and that's like the one thing to like ground him into doing it or whatever. But I imagine too that like it can be difficult just to be carrying around like a notebook or and
Adam
whatnot.
Hood does it. Like every time we write with Adam Hood, like he's got like just your typical like flip over like pad, and he
Like-
just brings it in and starts messing
Yeah.
with it. Like seriously, you're like, damn, dude, that's sick.
yeah, it's funny, just like us as men, like, cause like, my house, I just live in the house that my wife decorated, right? That's pretty much how it goes.
For
But it's
sure.
like, the only thing I care about is when like the deer heads or the turkey mounts are like really pristine or whatever, and it's like, the grass needs to be cut, but this can wait, because it's like moving into a new house as a guy, and you're like, well, let me set up all this stuff, and then it's like everything else. So it's like, that is funny. It's like your songwriter friend is like, this is the one thing. His life is a hurricane.
It's
like
the only
mine.
structure he's
But it's
got,
like, then, so he holds on to that dearly. Like that's his
Yeah.
one like saving grace.
Yeah. It's funny like how I guess, is it legal pads that he uses?
Yeah, like
Or-
like the ones where you just like flip over
Yeah.
the paper. That's exactly what he uses.
Man, there was this guy who he wrote for the local paper here, who now this is probably like 15 years ago. Elton John had come to play, and I was able to get like a press pass and all that shit. And I had like just a little notebook to write notes in, and he had this big old legal pad, and he was just like writing in Sharpie, like, and just like writing them these big old notes, and like he had to have flipped over like 60 pages of notes, and I was like, man, dude, just like, and he was just flipping over just big old legal pad, just, I'm like, shit. Like I didn't even, and maybe it's just like that age difference or whatever, but I remember him even like Elton saying, yeah, we sell like the audio version of this concert if you want to go buy it. So I was like, oh, I don't have to even write down the set list now. Like,
Exactly.
and he's still writing notes on the set list and everything. But that's every time I think of a big old legal pad, that's all I can think of.
That's
And,
funny.
what other kind of, in any of these co-writes that you guys have done with other people, is there any little things like that you've picked up on, like that little things where you're, oh, that's an interesting way of doing it, or
I don't know if I've really like. Honestly, when we just get in there, it seems like you just hang out for 30 minutes, and it's like then you start
It's like
writing
you
a song.
catch up. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish there was. I'm trying to think of anyone that just did something that was like quirky.
I mean, I used to ask when we were co-writing heavily, like when it was our job,
yeah,
we've written with a bunch of songwriters, hundreds of them, and I remember you like asking a lot of the hit songwriters like what's your favorite song you've ever written or whatever, like just for fun, and that was always kind of cool to see, like what a guy that has 30 hits or whatever to be like, oh, this is mine, without this one I don't know where. That's kind of a cool thing that I used to do, like just asking.
Yeah,
I
I
asked
mean,
Casey Beathard one time, like, he's got tons of hits, and he said "Don't Blink" was his favorite song, and I was like, oh, didn't expect that, but that's a killer song,
Yeah. No, I can't think of. I wish I could give you something really cool,
Yeah.
but like I can't think of anything.
See, that's a better question than like I've asked a couple people who, like, what was the writing like this about, and then like they've just gone like, oh, I was like barely part of that, and it's like, oh, you just killed my
like,
dreams
I
of like
love
what that
that.
was like, and you're like, oh, I was just, That's like a co-write.
I will say one thing with that, like, like I said, we haven't really done that in a really long time. It's just kind of like we got some other artist friends we like to co-write with, and kind of besides that, it's just really me, Charlie, and sometimes the guy that co-produced with us, Ryan. It just feels kind of safe or whatever, and we just like that process. It's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. But it is funny because you'd be like, man, I'm writing with Paul Overstreet today, and he wrote 3 Wooden Crosses. And so you're like, man, dude, we're about to write 3 Wooden Crosses. Like this, and
there is a weird expectation.
And then you realize you get there, and it's like, dude, he's just a guy, and they just, they caught lightning that day. And exactly. It's just like, and so, great songwriters write terrible songs too. It's just like it's a part of it.
Well, I feel like we never wrote what we considered was like a good song or like a cuttable song probably because of that. It's like we went in with this expectation of like, oh my gosh, like we're right with this guy, and then it's like we usually like just didn't really get something that we loved that much, and no slight to them, but it was probably just because we came in with this like, oh dude, here it comes, we're about to have it,
The greatest teacher was just reps. It's just like
getting, and you write tons of songs you don't love, like it happens.
But it gets you to where it's like, okay, now I know how, I kind of understand how this goes, and it's like, okay, well, what do we specifically bring to this that like will set us apart? And then that's just kind of what we do now.
And the more you do it, the more you know what you don't want to do as well.
Yeah. I think that's like half the battle is like you got to sometimes do something just in practice to realize, well, I know that's not it. You know what I mean? Like that whatever that was that we just did, I don't want to do that again. So sometimes like just doing what you don't want to do is actually makes you better at it all.
I heard an interview of John Mayer talk about this one time where he was like, I went through this like practice of, I'd start writing a song and then I'd stop liking it. And then he was like, in the past I would just like quit or whatever. But he was like, I started forcing myself to even like chase it when I didn't like it and like finish it and make it something. And he was like, and it turned, like most of the time those songs turned out great in a weird way. He's like, because I just didn't give up on them which is interesting because like it is easy to be like, you know what, I actually hate this, like or whatever.
And then the opposite side of that spectrum is like writing, say, a verse and a chorus that you just freaking love, and you're like, man, I don't want to. Like, okay, I love where we're at right here, and now it's really scary because now we're coming to the point where like, if I bring this to somebody else, and what if it doesn't land how like I want it to? And that's happened too, to where it's like, man, I really love this. I'm afraid to bring this to the table and so there's been many songs that like you've written half stuff to, and it's like, but then I let it, and I'll sit there and play it over and over and over and over and over again. But then at the end of the day, like the song has eventually got to get written, but maybe it needs 6 months to just like, and then you'll be at some place random and be like, I'm going to tackle this, and then you tackle it in 30 minutes, and you're just like, man, why couldn't I have just done that? That first 2 hours I spent on it, why couldn't I just done that then? But it just wasn't the time for it to flesh itself out.
We have gotten better at being like patient and not being like, well, we're here, like let's just finish it. It's like, well, what? Well, you don't have to finish it today.
And then being okay with, even if you finish it and being like, man, is this, I think another thing why we haven't written as many songs is like, man, I really like where this was heading, but it's like, maybe we could tweak this a little bit or something. Maybe we could try to rewrite this or something like that song Durwood, the bluegrass song on the last record. Like we had wrote a song called Durwood, and same kind of concept of like the story wise.
But it was like slow.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, dude, we just need to like make this fun and like we need to have good bluegrass picking song on this record, and so it's just kind of like with all like the gospel theme, like there's a lot of like Ralph Stanley gospel-esque feel to these last couple records, and so we're like, man, let's just like, I think there was an old side of us of like, because I didn't hate the other song, I liked it, but I was like, man, I think this could be better.
It could be better, yeah.
And so it's like, and I think just doing it faster and making it fun was just better.
Yeah, I think sometimes like realizing that just because you don't have the guitar or the note app open doesn't mean you're like not working on that song. Mm-hmm. Like I think a lot of times, it's all that build up, that time that it's like you're working it out in your head that you're not even realizing that you're really working on it. especially with young songwriters, once they kind of realize like, oh, that's part of the process too. It's not just, you're not just writing songs when you got the instrument in your hand, you know, it's the whole thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
It seems like for y'all, like, and this is like going back to a little bit of like the co-writing that was, you know, the Nashville kind of way thing, but that where you're talking about like that pressure of like, oh, we're going to write a hit today because we're writing with a hit songwriter. It feels like now you guys have kind of, you gotten to that point of like where you don't have to feel like you're forcing like the intimacy of something where like, oh, you kind of pick and choose who you're wanting to work with that you're comfortable with. Because, you know, in that co-writing situation, you have to be in a lot of ways like even more vulnerable to share an idea.
Absolutely.
Than it is to like even like when you're writing by yourself.
Totally. And I think a lot of that kind of stemmed from why we kind of chose this path. Is like we had a lot of things like culminate to where it's like, you know, say like you're having an interview or something and they like chalk up your success to like something that really wasn't a part of your success, but they deem that like, well, this is good to talk about. It's like, oh, well, y'all were on tour with Luke Combs in 2016. And it's like, okay, we played 4 shows with the guy. Like, that's not the scope of the last 2 years. Or like, oh, well, Dispatch 16th Ave was only a good record because 6 of the songs were co-written with Adam Hood and Brent Cobb. So it's like, we kind of were like, we're not getting the credit I feel like we deserve. Is like, no, we want to be like, we're songwriters. Like, and so I think it started with like, this is just a point to prove. And then we honestly just fell into this flow of like, okay, this is just what we like. And it's hard to bring a concept. I mean, I couldn't even imagine like showing up and meeting a stranger on Tuesday on 16th Avenue and be like, I got this idea called Earl Bird from Exia. And it's like, you know, and they're just like, because because like time is money for these songwriters, and there's no like, unless you're writing hits, like you're really not getting paid. And so like there's always this like kind of back of the head like, man, that's just too like, it's not
going to make money.
I haven't found many like career songwriters, and I'm not saying that like Charlie said, it's not a slight to anything, but it's like there's always kind of like, we're going to push this song somewhere maybe it doesn't need to go. And it's like, it's okay if this song isn't a hit. It doesn't mean it's not cool. It's like, it's just cool because it's, you know, it can be cool sometimes. And like, hey, if this isn't a high listener, like there's always going to be the lowest listened song on a record. It doesn't mean it's not good. It's just like there's songs that people gravitated to more. It's
when hit songwriters write with artists, it's like even more of a thing, I think, where they're like, well, I want to write their next radio hit. Like,
and we're not on the radio.
Why would I be here? Yeah. You know, like it is a weirdly a kind of a waste of their time. Yeah. You know, theoretically, if you're not writing your single, you know.
Yeah.
So it feels a little weird. Not all songwriters are like that. Like I said, there's plenty of awesome songwriters that go down these funny, weird roads with us all the time, and it's great. But you know, it's a lot easier for us to just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's what ends up like lasting longer, you know.
For sure.
Is, you know, yesterday when I was talking to some young songwriters here, we were talking about, there are a couple of songwriting nights, one in San Marcos and one here in Blue Light here in Lubbock, and how the one here in Lubbock is a little bit louder. You kind of have to get the attention of the crowd for them to listen to you, because they'll just ignore you if you're not good.
Chatting it up,
and how, you know, one of those ways of getting their attention is, you know, if you're real kitschy and doing this, you know, especially if you do like a song like "Fuck Nashville" or something like that'll get like their attention, the crowd's attention. But like, you know, they're not going to listen to "Fuck Nashville 2.0" like, you know, the next song about, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
You have to like grab their attention. It's better to grab their attention for the long run, the long haul, versus, you know, just trying to make that
for sure
statement and
splash.
And at least in my opinion, like y'all are doing records that way of like, it's an investment of a record versus like trying to, you know, flash in the pan kind of.
No, it almost feels like we're kind of like creating a new fan base. I mean, from when we first started, you know, like our first 5 years of our career, you know, we kind of created this atmosphere that we're not sure, like, genre-wise, we were like, what is it? Is it rock? Is it country? Is it top 40? Is it red? Like, we don't know. And so, like kind of going back to your earlier question, when we started making, Dispatch and Teenage Dixie, it's like there were some fans that were like, well, we missed the old stuff, and it's like that's just kind of a part of the journey, every one of our favorite artists evolved over their records, and that's cool.
And and I feel like it was like a tough road to hoe, but I feel like it's finally starting to come together. I think for a while, a lot of people because of some of our past music, it's I've already tried, and I heard Porch Wing Angel and Can't Tell You No, and this is totally stark difference from where we're honestly at over here. And so it's been kind of, I almost felt like we've had to prove or convince ourselves or convince the fans to be like, no, dude, we're not that. That's not us anymore. Or maybe it's but we're just still finding ourselves, like you said. And it's once we finally
just
found
an older
it.
chapter, man.
But it felt after really the Teenage Dixie record, a lot of times feels like that was our first intro to music. That's Muscadine Bloodline, and from there, this is what Muscadine is. And if you viewed it from that scope, without the preconceived notions that you've already created, so it's been and we're blessed. We're doing fine, and there's a lot of people listening. We're very content with where things are. But it's it was a hard won't even call it a transition, but it was just kind of we kind of flipped a page, and it was kind of the scary thing is well, we were doing this and we did amass some fans over here, and it's now it seems people over here who maybe be a little more pretentious about what they like. It's well, I don't know about these Muscadine guys.
It's I like their stuff, but them first couple records.
It's I see, and so it's been I hope with the continual record cycles that we do, finally that just over time kind of dissipates at some extent. But I'm still proud of all that back stuff. It's brought us to where we are today. It's a part of the story.
Sure.
But
there's no such thing as coincidences, man. It's you made it for a reason.
But like I said, I wish we'd have started a band in 2022 and here's Teenage Dixie. This is your first intro, and it's maybe it's a little different. But like I said, we've earned the last 10 years, so it's it's really it's a blessing or whatever. We haven't had the luxury of skipping steps, so it's just been Charlie and I, and
what a weird job,
Yeah, just putting out music and just hoping for the best and swinging the bat,
Yeah, I mean, I think y'all are doing all right. You're headlining
CottonFest.
CottonFest
we are
it's
we have
no, it's
pretty good
great.
spot.
Yeah, no, it's
great.
It's been incredible. I think just you're always a lot of times
you always want to perfect something.
Yeah, and you're always in the moment you're doing something, you just want something else, and it's just but they just become white collar problems, and it's just kind of but you have to dial it back and be dude, it's pretty cool. We played a sold out show in Oklahoma City last night to 2,000 people. Not many people get to do that, and it's
ever,
and just to do it independently and put the time in, and been going to Oklahoma City for 7-8 years, and it's played the small, building it as it goes. It's dang. I mean, we have never played Lubbock before, and you're right, we're headlining this thing. I told Will earlier, I was why aren't you headlining this? It's why don't you put us there? But so we're just excited to be here, and it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for y'all to be here as well, and thank y'all for hopping on the podcast.
Thanks for the great questions, man.
It
was awesome. Enjoyed it.
All right, that is it for this one. Be sure to check out our proud partners over at OG Lone Star. Thanks again to Gary and Charlie from Muscadine for jumping on this one. Shout out to Cook's Garage and CottonFest for making these so easy to record back a couple weeks ago. And yeah, we'll see y'all next time around.